searching what actual category I should be streaming in, and I found that there is actually a software development and game development category on Twitch, so I don't have to do it under just talking anymore. I don't know, I guess either one works, but anyway, here we are. Welcome. It's another Wednesday night, and I'm gonna try and walk you through doing something else with Superalgos. Hopefully it all goes according to plan. Again, I haven't done any prep work aside from signing into my AWS account, but I plan on walking everybody through how to set up a trading farm or cluster using Superalgos in AWS. And I guess to get things started, tonight I am drinking Little Log Cabin Perfect Feeling. It is a comfy and creamy DDH Ella Motueka. I really need to learn how to pronounce that. I think that's how you pronounce it. And Vic Secret Oat IPA, brewed with lactose sugar by our friends at Little Log Cabin. It's very delicious. If you can see the label, not too well. But anyway, I think I gave this one a 4.5, maybe a 4.75 out of 5 on Untapped. I really like it, and I apologize for me opening up the lid right now if it gets really loud. Not too loud, but cheers. Let me send out a quick blast to everybody and let them all know that I am live on the interwebs, doing interwebby things. And in case anybody actually wanted to jump in and follow along, ask a couple questions. Live now on Twitch TV. Do everything. All right, let's get going. So, again, plan on taking everybody through how to set up multiple nodes in AWS, download Superalgos to all of them, and control them all through one workspace. I believe I have a blank AWS account that I'm working with here. I have not done anything in this AWS account since I created it many, many years ago. I think I did it to, I don't know, learn something about AWS, and then I've never had to use it ever since because my employers all use it. So anyway, very first thing you want to do is I want to see if I have any VPCs created. Only the default VPC, apparently. I'm in Ohio, US East 2. I have one VPC, just the default. I'm going to create a VPC here, and I'm going to call it my Superalgos prod. Sure. We'll do 10.0.0.0 slash do slash 16. Tenancy default name Superalgos prod. We'll add a new one. We'll call it environment prod. Create our VPC. Tags are free. Tag the world. They just help with filtering and things like that later. And if you start tagging, getting in a good habit of tagging everything now, it will help you out later, I promise. Of course, if I was doing this for real, I would be using infrastructure as code, either CloudFormation or man, I totally just blanked on the other one. The other one from Hashing Corp, totally blanking. I use CloudFormation at my current job. I've used all kinds of different things. A lot of things you can just do straight over the API now. What else is there? There's CDK, which is kind of interesting. It's CloudFormation, which is kind of a wrapper for the API. And then there is TypeScript written on top of that as CDK, or you can do a couple of other different languages like Python. But the original first language it was created for or in CDK was TypeScript, JavaScript. So Superalgos, being a JavaScript program, 98% JavaScript, Node.js, you may want to use CDK. Maybe another session I'll work through how to do that. But anyway, we just created our first VPC. We have a CIDR block. You can turn on flow logs. If I were doing this in production at a real company, I would. Because a lot of auditors and things like that like to see that you have flow logs turned on. If you have a break-in, it's very good to have flow logs enabled. So let's see. We created several subnets in our old. You can also tell that these are really old because they have very short hashes on the end of them instead of new, which are very long hashes. Let's call it prod public. Let's put it in 2A. Call it prod public A. Public prod A. I don't know why. I always like to put the prod staging, whatever, after. Let's call it a 10.0.0. Let's do 10.0.0.24. If I were doing this in production, actual company, I'd probably make it larger than a 24. And again, environment prod. Cool. And we'll do one more because I always like to double things up. Let's call it public prod B. 10.0.0. We'll call it 1.0.24. Environment prod. Now I'm going to create some private subnets. Private prod A. Did I select the correct availabilities? I'm pretty sure I did. 10.0. We'll start this at 10. And we'll call it environment prod. And then we'll create another one called private prod B. in B 10.0.11.24 environment prod, and done. Now we have our, well, let's see. I'm actually going to need an internet gateway. Let's call this prod IG environment prod. We're going to need a NAT gateway called prod NAT. Whatever. And this is going to live in our public prod A. Let's call it NAT prod A. Oh, allocate an IP. So I guess another thing to mention that once you start doing all these things, especially getting IPs, these are going to start costing money. There is a free tier, and you can keep an eye on your free tier spend or tokens or bucket. Otherwise, you will start getting charged. So at the end of this, I am going to tear all of this down. Nice. All right. And then I'm going to make a new NAT gateway. What did I call it? NAT prod B. I'm going to put it in my prod B. I'm going to get a new IP for it. Going to call this environment prod. Let's see. State detached. Attached to VPC. All right. So I believe I only need one internet gateway. I'm pretty sure I only do that. Routing tables, we have one. And let's see. This is our other. What's the PCX? Peer connection, that's right. VPC peering. All right. So now we need a routing table. And I need to add a default route to my internet gateway. Let's save our changes. I may not have needed, well, whatever. So this is going to be our main public. Let's associate explicitly our two main prod public subnets with it. Now I'm going to create a routing table prod A, put it in here, and prod. I am going to edit my routes, add a route, default to my NAT gateway, prod A, save changes. And I am going to specifically associate private prod A with it. And then I'm going to make another new routing table prod B. And prod. Edit my routes. Default route, NAT gateway, prod B. Save. Edit the subnets. Attach private prod B. And done. So I've got private prod B. This one has my NAT default, private prod A, and this one is, let's call it RT default public prod. All right, so what that did is we created a VPC, a virtual private data center. We created an internet gateway, which is kind of like your modem in your house. We created a NAT device, which is kind of like your router in your house. And then we created some public IPs, public IP space, public subnets, and private subnets. Private subnets are generally things that should only be able to talk to each other internally, and then maybe reach out to the internet to get dependencies like updating packages, operating system packages, things like that. Otherwise, they can't be reached directly from the public internet. So generally, all of your applications should be running in a private subnet. Databases, more than likely, always running in a private subnet. The only things that I generally put in a public subnet are load balancers, proxies, and VPN servers, and maybe SSH servers if you need SSH access. One of the things we are going to do, I'm going to create an SSH server for us to jump into. Excuse me. And that will be our main point of access to this environment. So I believe that is all that I needed to do in this space. So let's go back to EC2. And what I want to do is I want to launch instances. Let's go ahead and do Amazon. So we'll select that. I'm going to just do a T2 micro because this is going to be our SSH bastion host or jump box. So this is what we're going to SSH into. Let's call it public A. Auto assign yes. Let's do shared elastic interface, accelerated no. Credit, device, no. Whatever, I'm not gonna mess with that right now. Let's add some storage. Actually, I don't need to add storage on this one. Let's just review and launch. So this is going to create a security group for us with just port 22 open, which is fine. That's what we want. We only have an 8 gig main hard disk. That's fine. We're just going to use this to access the environment. Let's create a brand new key pair. Let's call it SA demo key pair name. Let's download it. And let's launch our instance. View. All right, so while that's coming up, I am going to launch 4 Superalgos cluster nodes or farm nodes. So again, let's start with Amazon Linux. I'm going to bump this up to 2 and 4 because memory can be kind of a bear. And I really do want more CPU, but since this is just a demo, I'll go ahead and do this. Number of instances, we're going to do 4, all the same. Nah, I don't want an auto-scaling group. I would normally, but Superalgos itself right now isn't really designed for that, so it's not gonna help us out too much right now. I guess these are all gonna be launched in B. That's fine. We're not really going for high availability at the moment. We don't need a public IP, so those are going to be disabled. These are going to be in our private subnet. And then everything else is fine. So let's add some storage. So with Superalgos, you do want to have your own EBS volume for all the data. If the server happens to go down and you want to bring up a new one, or you need to upgrade it and you want to move your data over, it's much easier with an EBS volume to just detach it, bring up a new instance, attach your EBS volume back to it. Keeping snapshots, maybe nightly snapshots or whatever. And then if your instance dies, you can bring it back up from a snapshot tomorrow and you still have all of your historical data, your trade data, things like that. Normally, I would also make these encrypted. I would definitely make these encrypted. I keep forgetting about that because I always set my accounts to encrypt volumes by default. Maybe I can show you how to do that. But let's see. We've got the main disk. Yeah, and don't delete the EBS volume on termination. You'll want to keep it around. Just made these 50 gigs right now. May want to make that larger at a different time. Don't really care about adding tags. I showed how to do that before. And let's edit our security group. I'm going to leave, let's make this 10.0.0/16. SSH for admin access. Add a rule. We're going to need port. What are the ports again? These are all important, of course. Important. Here. 1841. And we'll make that 10.0.0/16 also. This is going to be the web app port, isn't it? No, this is the WebSocket port. And then we will add another rule for 34248. So this is kind of like a firewall. It's not 100% exactly the same, but for the majority of uses and things that it does, it is basically exactly the same as a firewall. And this is going to be 10.0.16, and this is the web app port. What is called the app port. Okay, it's not going to be free. That's fine. I'll pay a couple bucks. And I'll use my key pair that I just did there. One thing that I want to do is I want to add my key to Pageant. And hopefully... I was thinking that this might be the case. So let's import our SA demo. And save the generated private. Yeah, whatever. This is just going to be this is what I want. So I'll call this SA demo converted private. Save the public key. Sure. SA demo converted public dot key. Sure. I guess that's how I do it. So now I should be able to boom. Okay, so there's my key. I hate Windows. I hate PuTTY. Gets the job done, but I'd much rather be on Linux or Mac. For doing Linux and Mac things. So I don't need that open anymore. And I've got Pageant running in the background. You should see it over here. And now I have all my instances up and running, and none of them have names. So this one is going to be our Bastion host. This one's going to be SA1. This one's going to be SA2. This one will be SA3. SA. Oh, not editing. SA4. All right, so we have our public IP here. I should be able to SSH to port 22. Open. Yes. And this is Amazon Linux, so it should be EC2 user. Boom. And our key worked. So now I have not done this before in PuTTY, and I really hope that I can do this. Tunnels. Source port. Let's call it 1337 because we are so cool. And the destination is, I believe I want local and auto. Host name port. Let's look this up because I don't quite know what I'm doing with PuTTY. So what I want to do is I want to make a socks PuTTY socks proxy. So what I usually do, so they set the destination to some remote server. Is that going to be this IP? Seems weird, but let's give it a try. Destination address and port. Okay. I wanted to make a dynamic forward. Dynamic. That's what I want. Oh, that worked. Awesome. Apply. So, are these all still running? All right, up and going. So did I forward my agent? Is that another thing that I can do when I'm in here? SSH host keys. Man, I have not used PuTTY for this in a long time. Now, let's look up PuTTY SSH agent forward. I already generated a key pair. Allow agent forwarding under auth. Can I do that from here? No. Excuse me. All right. Let's try this again. And we will save this time. And let's call this SA demo bastion. Save. Let's set up our SSH auth. Allow agent forwarding. Tunnels, we want 1337 dynamic add. Let's go back to our session and save it and open EC2 user. Boom. So first thing I want to check is we want our private IP address. Can I boom. All right, sweet. So we are on host 1 now. And then I can duplicate this session. And now I can SSH onto host 2. I always paste. I can duplicate this again. On SA number 3. And on SA number 4. All right, so there's our stuff. First thing we want to do is apt install git. What? Oh, right. Yum install git. Yes. Yes. Sudo yum install git. Yes. And sudo yum install git. And what if I put a -y on the end there? Boom. I guess I'm blocking one of these windows here. All right, next thing we need is, again, following our amazing tutorial. Actually, I'm going to swap over to develop branch here because I want to view this sweet table of contents. And I want to click on the Linux install. Oh, it didn't take me to it. What? Guess the link is broken. Anyway, we want to go to the Node.js package manager install. We are running CentOS, Fedora, and Red Hat Linux, essentially. Close. There are snaps. Let's see what version these have. Yum Surge Node.js. It's really annoying. Software collections. Let's do a search for Amazon Linux Node.js. And hey, they have their own. Oh, they're using NVM. Sure, whatever. We'll follow the Amazon directions and do it the Amazon way. And then we can activate NVM by typing this. And then we can say NVM install node. It gets us 1701. Oh wow, I had no idea 1701 was released. Cool. All right, so now I'm going to take all three of these. I'm going to put them into a single whoops, forgot that one. I'm going to copy and paste. Oops. Let's see, I already did that one. Let's get out of. What? There, I guess it didn't paste everything in properly. All right, so now we have our 4 Superalgos nodes with Git installed and Node.js installed. Those are really the only requisites. So what do we do now? Let's clone the repo. I have already forked this myself. So clone your own fork. We're going to do SSH. I think most people actually may want to do the HTTP if you are brand new to Git, brand new to Superalgos, don't really understand how to commit things back and test. I don't think there's any real difference in terms of how it works behind the scenes. Superalgos has some functions built into it to make it a little bit easier for novices to contribute back. Excuse me. And especially things like adding documentation, updating documentation, creating your token profile, and participating in the governance. Those are all run through GitHub. And so if you aren't familiar with GitHub, Git, committing code, things like that, cloning, forking, you probably don't want to be setting up a cluster, but hey, maybe you do. This is something that's not too difficult. And eventually where was I going with this? Well, anyway, there's commands and things, buttons that you can just click in the Superalgos application that will kind of guide you through contributing back to GitHub, getting your profile set up, things like that. Otherwise, you can just do regular Git commands behind the scenes on the command line. That's what I like doing. You don't have to use the UI things if you don't want to. So anyway, I like to create my own local directory source directory. So I will, and I just totally blanked, make dir source. Wait, I want to -p, source, c source, git clone my fork. Yes. Oh, of course, because I didn't get my key and everything set up. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to do HTTPS because that'll make this easier. Because they don't do the SSH authentication on the HTTP endpoint. If I need to push, I can log in using my username and password on the command line, and they will basically assign my server a token. All right, so while that is running, let's do this on a couple others. So make dir -p source, cd source, git clone that, and same thing here. On my Mac, I enjoy doing this a lot better. You can distribute your commands to different windows all at one time. And I don't know if there's a way to do that in Putty. I don't think there is. There's probably some sweet plugin or another program you can install that lets you do it. But I do not have that enabled at the moment. So then I get clone again. Make my dir source. I don't know why I'm -ping, because there's nothing else going on. Cd source, git clone my source. All right, so now that that's done, I can see into Superalgos. I can see that I have all kinds of stuff. I want to just see what node version we have, 17. Now I want a node setup, no shortcuts. Oh my gosh. You can tell that I'm not fully a touch typist. I do look at my keyboard a lot. CD Superalgos. Oh, I'm not on Z shell. Node setup, no shortcuts. So you have to do this on all of them. What am I doing? CD Superalgos. Node setup. No shortcuts. Nope. Oh, hey, no shortcutters. That worked. No, I guess it didn't. No shortcuts. Oh man, I love this beer. It is so good. I've actually really gotten tired of drinking IPAs. The hazy IPAs are a little bit tastier to me. They don't dry me out as much, but I'm still getting a little bit tired of drinking them. Just seems like they're everywhere. Can't really get too much else on tap or in a can or a bottle these days. I really prefer barrel-aged sours and real oak aged. All right, so anyway, these are all ready to go. So now we can node platform min memo no browser. Let me just copy that so I don't have to type it again. And boom, all of them are running. I did not change onto the develop branch. Whatever. I don't really care right now. So let's see if this works. Let's go into our Brave settings. I want to look for proxy. Okay, I guess I have to do it through Windows. Let's use a proxy server. We're going to be localhost 1337. And save. Let's see if that worked. So I should be able to browse to okay. So that kind of broke connecting to AWS, which makes sense. I already had a new tab. 3, 2, 4, shoot. What's the frickin' ports again? Three, 4, 2, 4, 8. I feel like I would know this by now. 3, 4, 2, 4, 8, and I got an empty response. Did I not do that correctly? Save. All right, so that's turned off. Putty socks proxy. Dynamic add. Localhost 8086. All right, let's try a different port. Let's disconnect from all these for right now. We'll come back, start them all up in a little bit. sorry. Like I said, I did absolutely no preparation for this. And you can tell. So I've got my dynamic. Let's remove it. Let's 13373. Nah, let's call it 80080. No, that's too many. That's too high. Whatever. 13373. Dynamic add. And then I want to save my session again. Open it. EC2 user. Source, Superalgos, node, platform. Mint memo. What is this? 1126. Did that work? No? Maybe? It looks like it wants to work. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't turn back on my proxy server. Save. Didn't send any data. Oh man, I thought for sure this would work. Well, let's turn that off. We'll do it a different way. Let's go back to our VPC. And let's create a virtual private gateway. Is that what I want? Don't want site to site. I think I want that client VPN. I haven't used the actual AWS VPN things before. So I think this is what I want. I have done Openvpn before. I know it's very easy to get up and running. If this doesn't work, we'll try that. Man, it's already been an hour. No, this may not be what I want. That's not what I want either. Virtual private gateways. The router on the Amazon side of the VPN tunnel. Man, why do they have to make this so difficult? I do not know what I am looking for there. So I'm just going to launch an Openvpn server. Because I think this might be easier in the long run. And I want to launch an instance from the AWS Marketplace, OpenVPN. I'm going to do it on a T2 Micro. Want it to be in public prod A. Get it in an IP address. Next, no storage, no tags. Oh, nice. It already added all the VPN ports for me in the security group. And let's launch it. I already have my nothing ever goes right in a live demo. The live demo gods. Well, I was hoping that this wouldn't take this long. All right. Let's view our usage. Quick start guide. Excuse me. So now I need to SSH into what I thought. I do a bunch of stuff to it. Excuse me. New session. And I log in as OpenVPN AS. Yes, nobody ever reads these things because why would you? Yes, for the default. All interfaces. Should client traffic be routed through? No. DNS traffic. Normally I would, but no, not right now. Yes, local auth. Yes. You should log into the admin UI as Openvpn. Sure, whatever. This is going to get terminated very soon. Enter your activation key. No. All right. So now I should be able to go to this. And OpenVPN. I believe I need to give my OpenVPN user a password. Yeah. And let's set it to... Why don't we just save it into one password, right? And the website address is that. Save. Copy. Paste. Paste. All right. Paste. And I'm in. So now I want to download their Openvpn Connect. Of course, this is going to take forever to get set up. Let's add a user. General. Local. User management. That's what I want. And I save. All right. More settings. Sorry, generating a password. Save. Copy. Paste. Right? That not copy. Copy. Paste. And I save. Okay. So now I type in this IP here, accept the key, type in my username, copy my password, connect after import, accept, type in my password again. Hey, I'm connected. So now, if I type in :34248, of course, VPN does it. So there's one server. Finish. So I duplicate that session. And this time, I want to connect to this one. Oops, I always hit Control V because I'm used to being on a Mac where I can command paste. CD circ, Superalgos, node platform, duplicate. And this one is 1011. CD Superalgos. I guess I didn't even need to SSH into the main server now. I can SSH to these directly. Let me show you how you do that, because I should have that set up. So I should be able to do that and open. Yes. And EC2 user. Yep, exactly. So the Bastion host can be terminated because I have the VPN server. Oh. New session. This one. Yes. EC2 user. CD circ, Superalgos. Node platform run min memo. All right, so all of those are running now. And we have our getting started tutorials. So let's call this getting started tutorials farm. And this one is going to be this IP. Oh, without the HTTP. So now we save. And we can reload. And the doc search engine always takes forever. We can see we are connected to our server. So if we want to make a farm, we need to connect up our other 3 servers. So 1, 2, 3. And let's minimize all this so we can make a little bit more sense of what's going on. Another thing I like to do is to tweak these. Oh, of course. To get the nodes to space themselves a little bit better. And I'll call this one SA1. I'll call this one SA2. SA3. And SA4. So this one, IP for 2 is this. The IP for 3 is this. And this one is there. Now, should be able to save and refresh. So, if everything went correct, there you go. Connected via WebSockets. So what do you do now? Well, we need to install some markets. We need to make sure that we have our, oh man. What am I doing? We need to, oh. Sorry, just enjoy rearranging things. This is the fun part, sure. So we've got our 4 nodes. We can go over to our crypto ecosystem, set this to Binance US. Because again, I'm in the US, I have to use this. And then we want to get more assets. So we get our missing assets. Shrink it. We want to install our missing markets. Which gives us a ton. We do not have, we do have BTC installed. Okay. So you can see on one of our nodes already, We have BTC USD. That's the base one because we started with the getting started tutorials. It was already installed, and none of these other nodes have that. These are all expanded. They don't have any other, excuse me, markets on them. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and install a new market. You can do ETH. Let's see what happens. Of course, it takes a while to generate all the things and connect them all up. And you may get a warning saying that the page is unresponsive. And of course, because I installed all 4 nodes first, it takes a lot longer. And then let's also see, LTC is one of my favorites. I'm an old school kind of guy. Oh, of course, everything's... Wish there was a collapse all button. That needs to be on the to-do list. So now I can install LTC. Since we have 4 nodes, I'm going to install 4 markets. But while this is taking forever to set up, I will talk about how I have found that this is not the best way to go through setting up the farm. And this is exactly why. Because it takes forever. And then once it's done, the screen is extremely slow and very unresponsive, tough to move around because there's just way too much stuff. And hopefully, I guess right after this one is done installing, I'll show you why. Hopefully, soon. Okay, so you can see now, I mean, you can kind of tell. I can definitely tell that this is very jittery and slow to move around. And now you can see that I have all these nodes all around here. So if you install all of your network nodes first and then install your markets, the new markets get installed on every single node, and it makes it, oh geez, it just totally froze and locked up. It makes it extremely slow and difficult to use. And excuse me, I'm a little bit sleepy. So what you have to do now is go back through and delete everything. Basically. One thing I have not tried yet, and maybe I'll give it a try now. I'm going to delete LTC, everything of LTC off of this second node. And I'll leave only the ETH. So, and add node 3. I'll leave it. I already started doing it. Node 3, I'll delete the LTC things off as well. And node 4, excuse me. And of course, everything starts blurring together. LTC delete. And I might as well do ETH off of those too, but whatever. I already started just doing LTC. So then you have to come back through and clean up like this, which is a pain in the butt. And everything is slow. And I think the main thing that makes everything slow, excuse me, well, it is getting to be my bedtime. So I've only got a couple more minutes in me. The main thing that makes everything slow is, I believe, these chart space links, having all the different charts for all the different nodes. One thing I have not tested is if I unlink these, will it still do that same thing? It may. I suspect it will, because they are still in the space, and as long as Superalgos can find them, I'm expecting them to get all of the things again. I don't want any of these base BTCs, so it makes it a little bit easier to read what's going on over here. I might as well install BNB. I think I mentioned this before. If you hold BNB when you are on Binance, they will give you a little bit of a discount because you will pay your fees, your trading fees, in BNB. And so they give you a discount on those trading fees for using BNB. So it's a good idea to hold a little bit of BNB when you are on Binance and using it to trade. Let's see what happens if this installs the market on every single node, even though I've disconnected them from the main network node. And again, I do think it will. Let's see. So we got PTC, ETH, LTC, BNB here on node 1. Oh, hey, it didn't do it. Okay, so there's a little trick. So if you don't want those markets installed on every single node, you can just disconnect them. Cool. Good to know. All right. So now I'm going to connect these all up. I'm going to uninstall ETH because that made things very dirty. Because I only want one instance of each of these markets, and I'm going to have each node completely separated per market. So I'm going to have ETH on node 2. It's going to have all the storage, the back testing, the live test, the live trading, everything, data mining right there on node 2. Node 3, I'm going to do the same. Node 4 for node 3 for LTC, node 4 for BNB. And then another way that you could do it is you could have one node a little bit larger and dedicated to data mining only and data storage, and then have all of your trading tasks on other nodes. I tried doing that locally. It did not work out that well. Excuse me. Sorry, again. It is past my bedtime, and hopefully I can do this very quickly. But yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that you can set this up. And what I have found, at least on the hardware that I'm running at home, is that it is best to keep all of the tasks for a specific coin or market on that single node, instead of trying to make like one node data mining, one node trading. All right, so now we only have our 2. Oh, and I gotta uninstall. Yeah, I'll go ahead and uninstall BNB. So we will do this a much smarter way this time. All right, so these should all be clean. Correct. All right. So node 1 is our BTC. Let's unlink it. And unlink 3. Let's keep these down here. And unlink 4. Now for 2, we want to install ETH. And now 2 has ETH. So let's detach and reattach 3. And here we will install LTC. And of course we play the waiting game again. Hey, we're done. And you can see we have all of our LTC things there. Shrink it, detach. Now get 4 for our BNB. And the waiting game. So now you can see we have everything there. So now we can reattach all of our nodes. And if you want them in a specific order, you can reattach them in a specific order. But it doesn't really matter. So we can shrink some of our stuff down. I don't need learning tasks because I'm not going to do any learning. And I can get rid of the learning data mines because I'm not going to store any learning data mine data. Sorry, just a little bit of cleanup here. Get rid of the data tasks and get rid of the learning data mines because we're not doing that. So there. Now you can run all of your data tasks. One thing I did not show was what to do with that extra storage volume. So let me show you real quick on one of these that I connected to directly. And I will duplicate the session. So if you type lsblock, lsblk, you'll see that you have an xvdb. We want to become root. We want to, where did we move all the data storage to? Let's look in Docker because I have it codified in the Docker Compose. Oh, this is on the old. Oh, okay. So anyway, we're running on master, so everything's going to be right here. Cool. So if we make our data storage log files and workspace directories, because they are not created yet, so make dir -p, or what is it? Data storage log files and shoot. What do I want to do? How do I want to do this? I want to make, let's go to mount and let's call this data. I want to make fs dot ext 4 on dev xvdb. And then I want to mount dev xvdb on mount data. When I go into data, you can see I df -h, and I have my mount data with 50 gigs free. I want to make their data storage log files and my workspaces. Now I want to go back to, I also want to own them. With my EC2 user. Data storage, log files, and my workspaces. Cool. So I'm in Circ Superalgos. Now I want to ln, make a symbolic link. And I always get this backwards. So let's try mount data, data storage, data storage. Hey, I did it right this time. So now you can see we have data storage pointing to mount data, data storage. And we want to do the same thing for log files. And my workspaces. And I think if you do something cool like this, where you say ln-s, my data, my workspaces, mount data, my workspaces, I think it makes the directory for you. You don't have to necessarily put the last argument there on the end. So now all of our, oh, and I didn't save it into fstab. Mount data and xvdb. All right, so sudo vim etc fstab and versus the device xvdb. Next is the mount point, mount data, file system type. We did x4. I'll do defaults because I don't feel like doing anything different right now. And I will do 1 and 1 also because I don't feel like doing anything different. So now what that did was set it up so that that data disk will get mounted onto mount data whenever the system reboots, if it happens to reboot. So now if we run, what is this, 10.11, 210, that was Superalgos number 4. So if we run our data mining on SA4 for BNB, as soon as they start going, we should see stuff in our console. And if we go into our data storage, not yet. Oh, so it's fetching all of them. I should have changed the time frame. But what we should see is that the data will eventually, let me stop this. This is going to take forever. Let's just set it to the beginning of the year. It'll run a little, well, I want this to run really quickly so I can show you where the data gets saved. So we'll just start in September. So now, if we get all of our data running, should move a lot faster. And of course, again, doing the waiting game. But once this is finished, we should see all of that raw data being stored here in our data storage directory. And you can see we are in our home source directory. Takes a little bit of time. In my experience, I haven't tested out a whole bunch of different exchanges, but Binance is definitely the fastest in terms of getting data of all the exchanges that I have tested. And all right, now it's saving. And there we go. Now we've got our data, data mine, candles, All of our other things are starting to run. And if we go to mount data, you'll see in our data storage, we have the actual home of all that data. So we can now set up snapshots, nightly snapshots on this EBS volume. If we happen to want to move this over to an Ubuntu server instead of an Amazon Linux server, we just detach the volume, attach it to a new server. If we want to, Amazon Linux number 3 comes out and we don't want to upgrade the current one, we just want to move fresh over to a new server. Again, just detach it, terminate the server, create a new server, reattach the volume. Or, since you're taking snapshots, backups, if you will, you can just create a new volume off of that snapshot, the latest snapshot, and spin up a server using that snapshot. And all of your data is right there, ready to go. So, I think that's it for tonight. What do we do? We've got 4 nodes, 4 Superalgos nodes running in AWS. We've got the Bastion host, which didn't work out as well as I hoped. Might need to do a little bit more research. I definitely have not used PuTTY to do a SOCKS proxy dynamic port forwarding before. I have used it on Mac, and I know, well, I haven't used it with Superalgos, but I have done the SOCKS proxy stuff with SSH on Mac, and I've had it work. So maybe worth exploring. I'll probably do another update if I can figure out how to get it working before doing the demo. But OpenVPN 100% works. Getting access to our private VPC, our private subnets, and getting access to all the Superalgos instances running inside it. So we connected to one node, opened up a workspace, created a brand new one, cloned it, or whatever, renamed and saved one of the pre-existing workspaces, added our new network nodes, configured them to have the proper host IPs, which are all internal only IPs, and then figured out that even if we have the nodes already created, if they are attached to this main LAN network node, when you click install on a market, it will install it on every single LAN network node, and it makes Superalgos extremely slow. So if you already have your network nodes and you want to install a new market, make sure you detach first, unless you really do want on all of them. Another time, maybe we will explore setting up a different architecture. Instead of having one coin or one market on each node, maybe set up one that is all data and then have the other ones doing trading or something like that. I'm sure that there are some other architectures that different people can think of. One for backtesting, one for live trading, one for data mining. That's just something that popped in my head. Anyway, I think that's about it. If there's any questions, find me on Reddit in the Superalgos subreddit. Find me on the official Telegram, the official Discord. Again, find the project on GitHub. And like and follow me here on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. That's where I announce when I'm going live and any other updates. And I will be posting these recorded videos on YouTube. So like and subscribe over there as well. If that's it for the night, that's it for me. I will catch you next week. See you on the flippy floppy.